Alright, I got a couple ways that I'm testing my squares for squareness. I got this new Starrett cast iron combination square, and when I compared the two, this to an engineer square anyways, I found that there was some difference there, and I wanted to figure out, well, which one's actually square. So what I've done is I've got a dial indicator attached with a magnetic base to my cast iron table saw, and I'm using a mag switch here as my stop, and so I can register the engineer square against the cast iron, and I can slide it till I hit the mag switch, pressing on the dial indicator, and you can see it goes up to 21 thousandths of an inch. And then if I do the same for the combination square, it's up to 26 thousandths of an inch. So it's almost 5 thousandths over, and that's only at about 3¼ inches up from the table. So that's a fair difference, but that doesn't tell me which one is square still. So I have another method that shows you whether or not which one is actually square to the tolerances that are needed for woodworking. I'll show you here. Okay, so I know what you might be thinking here too. You're thinking, well, it's a combination square. It's not supposed to be that as accurate as an engineer square, but in actual fact, the Starrett claims that they have an accuracy of 0.001, so like 1,000th of an inch over the entire length of this rule, basically. So it should only be out 1,000th of an inch from this end to this end, whereas the engineer square, say there's a tolerance of 0.001, 1,000th of an inch per inch of length. So in reality, you should expect to see the Starrett be more accurate. So now I'm wondering whether I got a faulty Starrett or not, but here's how we're going to find out. So I have a piece of plywood that I know I have a square edge on. I ran it over my jointer a couple times, took the edge off, the corners off just a little bit with some sandpaper so that they weren't affecting anything. And then I have a Veritas aluminum straight edge here as well to help me basically see my error. Because if I just do this with just this small 6-inch combi square, it's really hard to see, any errors. But basically, I'm going to register my square against the edge here, and then I'm going to take my straight edge and register it against the combination square, against the ruler. Make sure that I'm keeping square on both. I can remove the square now and just run a pencil line all the way on that, and then flip my straight edge, hoping you guys can see that line, and flip my square over and do the same, putting another line relatively close. It can be, I'd like to do within like 1/8 of an inch or so, because it helps to see the differences. Okay. All right, so right off the bat, I can notice that I've got, just a second here, on this end, I'm about an eighth of an inch apart, and on the opposing end here, it's a 1/4 inch. So over the full length, I gotta find my tape measure. How long is this board? 28 inches. That's off by 1/8 of an inch. That's a fair amount. So if I do the same with my engineer square, the 4-inch here first. Let's try this. takes a little bit of work to make sure you're not affecting the how you're holding the square when you push the straight edge up against it. That's why I'm taking my time there. Okay. Flip it over here. And for the engineer square, it looks pretty close all the way across. I'm a little bit wider here. Probably about 3/32. And I'd say it's about 3/32. So that engineer square looks very, very close. Close enough for my purposes, for woodworking anyways. I wouldn't notice anything like that as an error with woodworking, but I definitely would notice with the Starrett if I cut a piece like that and had it off by, you know, 1/8 of an inch over 28 inches. That's a fair amount. And then if I do the same with the 6-inch square, just to see how it is, because this is an older square. These other two I just bought yesterday, the 4-inch and the Starrett. Eyeballing it, it looks very good as well. Hold on a second, let's use the proper side here. About 5/32. And 5/32. So those two are looking great. This one, I have to take a trip back to Lee Valley, I guess. They have a good exchange policy, so I should be able to exchange it. I'm gonna see if I can. I'm gonna bring my straight edge and see if I can do a quick test on whichever one they give me. Make sure it's working well too.